Hello, fellow Movie Crusaders, and welcome to another episode of the Weekend Crusaders. My name's Sean Waskerug, and with me, as always, is Brian Michaels. We are shooting this episode a little bit later than we normally do. Normally, we would be this episode would already be out, and people would be watching it. Instead, we are filming it on a Friday night because, just like in Jurassic Park, life finds a way to screw us. And we had to shoot it late. So this is probably going to pop up around, Saturday night, Sunday morning. It is what it is. Life happens. But it's still the weekend.
I do have to add one note. Yes, it was going to be filmed late because of things in real life. But because you called me out, I'm calling you out. We would have filmed it last night, but Sean decided not to have any of his preparation ready for it. Any of his graphics, any of his information.
Once again, life got in the way. I had a trivia match I had to study for.
And then you said you just forgot until you came on to record it. Anyway,
I literally did.
You called me out for not
came downstairs.
Management. I had to call you out. Let's move on.
we came. I came downstairs. We were ready to start. I go, oh shit! I have no of the slides. I got nothing set up, and you had to get to work. And I was like, yeah, we're gonna have to do this another night. So we're doing it a day later. Either way, though, it's a great show. We've got 5 well worth talking about movies. And last week's episode, we talked about that our feature film was a comic book film that up till about, March? February?
Yeah, it was March.
Was talked down about so profusely, but Brian and I were always very positive on it to the point where we would get ridiculed for liking it. And now everyone's like, you know what? That's not a bad movie. And we're like,
yeah,
we fucking told you. And that is the MCU's sequel to the Avengers. We are talking about 2015's Avengers Age of Ultron. Age of Ultron came out May 1st, 2015, had a budget of $250 million, had a weekend opening of $191.27 million. It was number one its opening weekend and spent 2 weeks. Yeah. Well, shockingly, only spent 2 weeks at the number one spot. You would think it would be more, but it was summer. Had a finished box office of $1.4 billion. I think that's our biggest one so far on the Movie Crusader or the Weekend Crusaders. At $459 million domestic and $943.8 million international. Now, we're not gonna talk about the big deal that a lot of people are bitching about with this, which is Joss Whedon. I like Joss Whedon, Buffy, Firefly, Angel, the first Avengers. We're not going to talk about the stuff that's been happening of late. Just we're talking about the movie itself. I'm going to say this right here, and I've said this before. And if you guys check on the channel, we literally have an episode where we rank all of the Marvel movies. I think it's pre-Endgame because it was right after Captain Marvel came out. And I said it on there, and everyone on the show ripped me a new one for it. I like Age of Ultron better than the Avengers. I do. I like it better than the first one. I think that it is a stronger story. It's a better villain. Not that I don't like Loki. I do like Loki. But I felt like Loki was kind of, we need a villain. We're not going to do Thanos yet. Let's throw Loki in there. I think James Spader, who I love. I've watched James Spader ever since I didn't really watch his movies, but like when he did the legal TV show, Boston Legal, I fell in love with James Spader. And of course, Blacklist. When I heard he was going to play Ultron, I got giddy. I was like, yes. And then that first trailer came out where he's doing the Pinocchio, I've got no strings on me. And I was like, all this is what I want. Like, this is going to be great. And the movie came out and I really, really liked it. And I was like, great. They did another great sequel. And everyone's like, that one sucked. And I was just like, oh, damn. Like, did I not see the same film? Because I kind of really liked what they did with this movie. But let's jump over to Brian. Brian, you were in the same boat with me. You like Age of Ultron prior to all the, now that everyone loves it because of WandaVision. Because now Age of Ultron has so much more importance to it because of WandaVision. But we liked it pre-WandaVision. So, Brian, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I have nasty echo coming out of here, by the way. Okay, it's gone now. Sorry. Yeah, very much so. I really like Avengers: Age of Ultron when it came out. I don't like it as more than the original one like you do, but they're both, I think, excellent films. I feel Ultron, yeah, is a little bit of a weaker villain. You know, part of that comes from the fact that I really hate when, like, you know, the final battles are all just a bunch of, you know, faceless robots kind of things coming at you, and it's like, you know, I'd rather have, like, you know, I mean, yes, Ultron's there, but just those kind of faceless armies of robots just don't do it for me. Although it gives them a chance to kill lots of people. But yeah, from the very beginning, I really enjoyed the movie. I've actually never understood why people don't like this movie, because I mean, it introduced. I mean, if nothing else, they basically turned Jarvis into Vision, and Vision has played a huge part. So even before you got to WandaVision,
Paul Bettany finally gets his due.
Yeah, but I mean, he's been an integral part to you going through, even in Infinity War and Endgame. And then then people are like, you know, oh, now we like him because of WandaVision. Like, well, what about the last, you know, 5 years or whatever it is? So I've never understood that. I feel that Aaron Taylor Johnson, I thought, did a great job as Quicksilver. Obviously, people expected him to be the better one over was it the same year or the next year that X-Men did?
Days of Futures Past.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to look it up.
They were very close. They were very close, and people kind of expected that Aaron Taylor Johnson's one to be better, just because, you know, the X-Men universe was not at, you know, top of its game at the time, and also it was kind of this, you know, relatively lesser known actor. But I mean, actually, I know a lot of people really enjoyed that. Obviously, it was a different take on it, a little bit more comedic take, and this is more serious. But I liked Aaron Taylor Johnson this one, and of course Elizabeth Olsen did a great job, Scarlet Witch. But I mean, I had no problem with the movie. I like Joss Whedon's writing and direction. I liked the stories. I liked that a lot of people. I know one part that people jumped on was the when they go back to Hawkeye's ranch, farm, whatever you want to call it. I think a lot of people had issues with that, but I think that was a necessary part of the movie, because it was like they just gotten their asses kicked. They had to go somewhere safe, somewhere quiet, somewhere away from everything. And it was a very kind of pensive time. Everyone was kind of being introspective and, you know, figuring out where they are and what they're going to do and regrouping. And then also it turned out, obviously, to be very important to the Hawkeye storyline with his wife and kids and how he becomes Ronin when they disappear and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's a movie that I think doesn't get its due, unfortunately. I would also like to point out, when you said that it only lasted 2 weeks at #1, even its third week, it still made $38 million. It was beat out by the opening of Mad Max Fury Road, but also the #1 movie that week, the opening of Pitch Perfect 2. So there you go. I'm going to write it off to splitting its audience with Mad Max.
And probably everyone had already seen Avengers at that time, so they wouldn't have seen
times,
the movies. Yeah. Futures Past was the year prior. I think that's why. Yeah. So this came out a year after Evan Peters' Quicksilver showed up. The reason why, and to touch on a few points, I didn't want to interrupt you. I'm trying to do better not interrupting you, just letting you talk when you say something. I'm trying to
Please
remember.
do, because sometimes I feel like I'm babbling, so go ahead.
No. But like, the reason why I like this better than the first Avengers is that I feel like the first Avengers, like, they just spent way too much time on the helicarrier, and there was a lot of just kind of twiddling your thumbs, waiting. And then you had the whole big helicarrier battle, and then I was like, twiddle your thumbs, waiting till we get to Battle of New York. I still like the first Avengers. I do. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying that story structure-wise, it felt like a lot of just waiting around till we got to this point.
I think a lot of that came from the first movie was assembling the team. It's not only did you have to go and get each person, but then you had those, you know, a lot of those scenes like on the helicarrier where you had to see the interaction, kind of learn the relationships between them. By the time you get to Age of Ultron, they're a team, you know the dynamics between them. And so from the very first scene, it's like, boom, they're on
with them already doing a mission together. You had the language joke, which I thought worked perfectly. You already were showing the vulnerability of the team because Hawkeye gets hurt. And then you start seeing not the cracks at that point, but you're starting to see the vulnerability that not everyone on this team's a superhero. They can get hurt. Him and Natasha. But that's why I like this. And like you said, the faceless, armies. I mean, that's no different than the Battle of New York.
It's still fun battles. I agree.
Except that in this one, they have to defend this one spot, because if they get to this one spot, it's game over. And Battle of New York, it's just onslaught.
Yeah, no, I enjoy the battles.
Onslaught.
I think it's just it's a case of where I do prefer Loki to Ultron, but that's just me.
I feel like Ultron, like Loki is funnier, obviously, because he's got it's wow, I just blanked on Loki's name.
Tom Hiddleston.
Thank you. Oh my god, I was like dead. Like his banter back and forth with everyone was great. Ultron's, I loved his delivery to Tony because everything with Tony was a personal dagger, but it was a snark tone back at Tony. He didn't really give a crap about the rest of the Avengers. He was all about Tony. And once again, that's what I love about this film, because a lot of people at the time was, there's a lot of loose ends and stuff like that. No, Ultron, Age of Ultron, was the breadcrumbs starting to grow through the rest of the MCU. It was starting the breaks of the Civil War. It started the Infinity War movement with Thor. It started basically the whole storyline with Scarlet Witch, going off to all these things. Age of Ultron, that film is so much more important than people give it credit for, because it is the start. I mean, we get the first tease of Captain America touching Mjolnir and moving, which once again ties back to Endgame. Meow if you're Darcy. Meow. There's so much, and then of course once again everything goes. So that what happened at the end of Ultron led to Zemo starting Civil War. Tony going upon him and Mark Ruffalo. Wow, my brain is toasted tonight.
Banner?
Hulk, Banner. God, my brain is dead tonight. Them going and doing their own thing without consulting them and creating Ultron starts the breakup of them not trusting Tony fully, which also leads to the Civil War. Everything in this film is setups like as a true sequel, like how people I granted, I still think Two Towers is the best Lord of the Rings film, but everyone goes, it's just the middle piece to connect you to Return of the King. I'm like, no, it's not. It is the best, to me, one of the best stories of the entire trilogy of Lord of the Rings. Ultron is connecting all these pieces and all this tissue to all these other films that are coming down the road. At the time, yeah, maybe people couldn't see the roadmap that the MCU was starting. Now, it's a beautiful blueprint to what's coming. You watch it now, you're like, oh crap, they were really setting this up all the way back in 2015. Oh, this da-da-da, and which WandaVision helped that. Without WandaVision, I don't think people would have gotten back and watch Age of Ultron, because let's face it, after every WandaVision episode is someone, go watch Age of Ultron, people. We're telling you. Go watch Age of Ultron. It's important. And it was even important in terms of Falcon Winter Soldier, because once again, you get more out of Zemo and what he lost, because what happened at the end of Age of Ultron is what led Zemo down the path of what he did for everything, with the super soldiers and all that kind of stuff. But it gets shit on for no reason. We have a great Hulkbuster, Incredible Hulk battle. Like I said, the opening scene was good. You get the whole big tease of Infinity War with Tony, where he fails. He gets the nightmare from Wanda, and he sees that he fails in saving everybody. And that is like 10 movies down the road, and it comes back around. This movie is done so well, and people just want to attack it.
Well, there's all those, and aside from just all those important moments, there was the little scenes that people I think overlooked are the ones that I kind of enjoyed the most. Like I said, there was the stuff at Hawkeye's farm. I was going to important, but also even though like after the initial battle scene, there's that I don't remember what they're celebrating. They're having like a gathering, like everybody's like together drinking and partying.
Where they're all doing the drinking
party. The party. I loved this is the banter between all the characters there. I mean, that was where the Captain America lifted the hammer, but even like Don Cheadle telling his stories and stuff. I loved that stuff.
It was one of those things, and that's where Joss Whedon really comes in and really hits it home. It is those conversations, which is what people loved about Avengers. Yeah,
one of the best lines in the entire movie is from that scene where Black Widow goes, "Oh, that's not a question I need answered."
Exactly. There's so many, and Maria Hill, she's hanging out with the team and all that kind of stuff.
We still don't see enough of Corey Smulders. Just saying.
I agree. You have a great Stan Lee cameo where he drinks Thor's drink and he's gone from that.
Excelsior.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many great moments just in that party scene, and just of the team just like one of the favorite moments from Avengers is when they go get shawarma at the end. Why? Because it's them acting human and hanging out like they're friends. And we get that in this film with everyone. Just at the end of the night when the party's over, the core team and Maria Hill hanging out, just relaxing. They're not having to put up a big front. And like the one part where Tony and Don Cheadle are like, dude, I got you. Give me. And they're both putting on.
Are you trying?
Are you trying? Like, come on, I got you, bro. Like, it's great. It's great little scenes. And then, like I said, the Hawkeye's farm. We get to see, to me, the most vulnerable Avenger because, you know, Hawkeye, yeah, he's a bow and arrow guy. When he runs out of bow and arrows, what can he do? We do get to see what he does down the road. But we get to see that, yes, these people have families. And, of course, I love Linda Cardellini. So having her in anything makes me happy. So getting to see her, and we get a great conversation between Tony and Chris Evans when they're doing the whole log, and Chris Evans just rips the whole log. Once again, breadcrumbs leading to Civil War.
It's also the first time they set up towards Black Panther because they got and Circus's Claw in here.
Exactly, Claw's in here, and which also great funny moment when Ultron cuts off his hand. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and he's generally sorry, but it sounds sarcastic. But Ultron's really like, I did not mean to do that. and great banter between Hawkeye and Quicksilver. One of my favorite moments one of my favorite moments of the movie is when Hawkeye has the hero speech to Wanda, going, "Look, you can either
if you walk out that door,
you are an Avenger and you need to fight. You can stay in here. If you stay in here, I won't hold it against you. That's fine. But if you step out those doors, you're an Avenger and you need to help." And then you know, Quicksilver comes in, runs by, and he's like, "No one will ever know." Oh, Ultron
I love that. That's a Joss Whedon moment right there. Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, what? Oh, I saw Ultron sitting on him. Oh, what a guy. That sucks." Great. Because Jerry Renner delivers it beautifully. And then it goes back to the inevitable death, he saves Hawkeye. And Hawkeye, like I said, wanted to shoot him in the back, but he took that death so hard.
Yeah.
He would not leave Quicksilver's side. And like I said, beautiful little character moments. The only thing that kind of landed flat, and that's because I think they kind of killed it by kind of removing the storyline of it, was the love story between Black Widow and Hulk.
See, I never liked that storyline to start with, so I was fine with
it. It kind of was felt flat because Hulk left and we didn't see him again until Thor Ragnarok. And by the time he came back in Infinity War and stuff like that, it was a non-starter. It was kind of just like bleh. Which was like that was a storyline they could have just left alone. Didn't have to bring back in. Like if there's one negative, that would be the negative. I didn't hate it because it gave
same thing. But if you said you got to cut one thing from this movie, it was going to be that for me.
Yeah, if you could take something out, take that out. But and then of course we get War Machine helps. Sam shows up. Like we get more of the actual I call them, at the time, they were like the BC group of the Avengers. And then we get the great tease at the end.
By the end, they're the Avengers.
Exactly. They're the Avengers. And we get teased that Chris Evans like, Avengers? And then we had to wait till Endgame to get, which made it that much bigger when we finally got it. Which according to them, they probably like, oh, we've heard Cap say this all the time. But not giving us that. Plus, we got the first real shot of Thanos at the end. Like, I'll just do it myself. Kind of thing. This is... Ultron does not get enough credit that it actually deserves. It has so much in this film.
Great.
So much in this film.
I think like you said, a lot of people are coming back because of WandaVision. And it's like, even WandaVision aside, it was if people went back and watched it, they'd see how important it was to the entire, not just the new shows, but the movies after that. It was just it was essential to it.
WandaVision opened the door to get people to go back and rewatch it. But for many of the people after Endgame happened who would go back and rewatch Ultron, I think it opened a lot of people's eyes and going, "Oh, damn! There's actually a lot of good stuff."
Yeah, and like I said, you and I are like, we've been saying this for 6 years now.
And you chastised us for liking this film. I mean, there are some bad MCU movies, granted. And most people hate a lot of the ones that we don't like, because they're not good movies. But Age of Ultron is not one of them. It really isn't. Like I said, I like it better than the first one because I just think there's so much, because of what everything leads to. I think it's a vital film in the MCU franchise. Like, there are some movies in the MCU. Could you skip it and be okay? Yes. Age of Ultron is not that film. It is a must-see movie to understand the beauty of Kevin Feige's vision of this 21 movie story arc. And I think it gets a bad rep, but I think people are starting to turn around on it. And Pierre, Brian, and I just like, shut up. But anyway, Age of Ultron. Obviously, if you like MCU movies, you've seen this movie before. But if you saw this movie once and were like, that movie sucked, I didn't like it, I refuse to watch it, blah, 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 go out of your way, give it another watch, give it another check. If you watched WandaVision and you didn't go back and watch Age of Ultron, go back and watch Age of Ultron. You will not be disappointed. There's so much in this movie that people are forgetting that led to storylines that you did not know that was coming for 5 years, 6 years to come. And this is the start of it. Obviously, if you got Disney Plus, it's on there. Or if you've got cable, it's literally on like TBS TNT like every weekend. It's the new Star Wars.
On demand through USA Networks if you don't have Disney Plus. But if you're watching this and don't have Disney Plus, I don't believe you're lying.
Yeah, I mean, let's put it this way. Every weekend, if you go on TBS, TNT, USA, you either have Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit, you've got Star Wars Saga, or you've got the MCU. You really can't miss it. It's everywhere. So you guys saying, "Oh, you have no reason. I have no way to watch it." You're lying. But Age of Ultron, Age of Ultron, very, very underrated, underappreciated film, and that is why it is our feature film. But now we are moving to our revisited, and this is
another super team.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, maybe. It's a team.
They have uniforms and everything. Come on.
They do have uniforms, multiple uniforms. But this is a movie that is considered a modern day classic. I had never seen it up until this show. I just never. It was one of those things where it's like I didn't care to see it when it came out, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's so funny, it's so great." I'm like, that's fine. I'll watch it sometime down the road. Well, here's that time down the road. Coming in as our revisited film is the 2004 high school comedy, I would say is the best way to kind of guess or say it, Mean Girls. Mean Girls came out April 30th, 2004, had a budget of $17 million, had a weekend opening of $24.4 million. Number one, its opening weekend, its only week at number one, had a finished box office of $130.1 million, $86.05 million domestic, and $44.06 million international. Brian, since you have had history with this film prior to like myself watching it this week, why don't you go ahead with Mean Girls?
So Mean Girls is based on a nonfiction book actually called Queen Bees and Wannabes, basically about like the teenage girl culture in high school and the cliques and the pressure not just to fit in but also to turn against other people and how they clash and how you lose your individualism. Anyway, but it basically Tina Fey took this nonfiction book and created this movie out of it, which they then titled Mean Girls. She wrote the script, and so I went into it thinking, okay, I like the people that were in it, although at the time a lot of them weren't super well known. It was produced by Lorne Michaels, written by Tina Fey. I'll give it a shot. And this one was such a pleasant surprise. I thought this movie was just hilarious. And I mean, most of that I think goes to the script by Tina Fey. I think that she does a phenomenal job of kind of making a statement with the movie. It's one of those movies you kind of can feel what it's trying to say, but at the same time, it's just on an entertainment level, it's just really fun to watch and entertaining. Lindsay Lohan, obviously, this was, I think, the peak of her career. She kind of started like Parent Trap, kind of built up through like some Freaky Friday kind of things like that. And then Mean Girls was kind of the movie where it's like, okay, she's not just going to be a kid actor. She's going to have a good career. Of course, she then decided to, party her life away and become, one of those people. And so basically she pissed away her career and eventually, I just blanked out on her name. Oh my gosh, I'm having a you moment.
Amanda Bynes?
No, Emma. Something.
Emma Stone.
Stone. Thank you. Oh my god.
There's a lot of Emmas, man. You got.
I also watched them. Sorry. Emma Stone basically came along and had the career that we all thought Lindsay Lohan was going to have. But instead, Amanda Seyfried was a small role in this. She ended up having a bigger career than Lindsay Lohan. Rachel McAdams obviously blew up big. Hell, even Lacey Chabert went on to a huge career in like Lifetime movies and Hallmark Channel movies.
She's like a Hallmark Christmas doll now.
Yeah, she's like 30th Christmas movies. But yeah, I mean, but I think the standout star of it is for me, Tim Meadows is the MVP of this movie. He is just, anytime he says a single line, he is hilarious. Sean, you saw it for the first time. What did you think?
You know what? I thought I was going to be the one to drop Tim Meadows on this, and you beat me.
No, it's pretty much unanimous amongst people I talk to.
I as I was watching this movie, like once we got to the inevitable gym scene, I was like, Tim Meadows is fucking killing it in this film. Like, he is so good at this.
Tim Meadows kills it he walks into one scene in any movie, he's good. I mean, Walk Hard, he stole all the scenes he was in. Oh, yeah. Mean Girls, he steals all the scenes he's in. Even like if you watch like Ladies Man or some of the few movies that he like had a lead role in, the movies aren't great, the stories and stuff like that, but he's always just awesome.
He always delivers. Delivers. Yeah. Tim Meadows is an actor who really should have basically. I kind of put him with like Don Cheadle, like a comedic Don Cheadle. But then the problem is that Don Cheadle can do comedy as well. And I was like, oh crap, there goes Tim Meadows. Because like I haven't ever seen Tim Meadows do drama. He could do comedy really, really well. And I was like, he's the comedic Don Cheadle. And then Don Cheadle comes with like House of Lies. I'm like, oh damn, he's funny too. I was like, so people are gonna pick Don Cheadle over Tim Meadows, but Tim Meadows, he's great. And I love him in this film. I wish there was more scenes of him in this movie. But yeah, I agree with pretty much most of everything that you said, except that I think Emma Stone is just a way better actress than Lindsay Lohan in general.
I agree. I'm just saying that where Emma Stone is at now, I was just saying that's where people thought Lindsay Lohan was going. Because like, wow, she's going to be a good actress, she's going to have a good career, and then she just pissed it away, and so somebody else came and took her place.
I never ever would have expected Lindsay Lohan to ever be nominated / win an Oscar, but that's besides the point.
You wouldn't have thought so from Emma Stone just after Superbad, though, either. So
Oh, I loved her in Superbad, but
you wouldn't have said Oscar.
No, but Easy A, Crazy Stupid Love. That's when you started to see the build.
Yeah, as she got more and more.
Yeah, she would be pretty good. But yeah, no, it was one of those things where I was so worried watching this. Like it's like I mentioned, was it 2 weeks ago when we were talking about Raising Arizona? I'm afraid to watch Big Lebowski for the first time because everyone has talked it up so much that I'm gonna be like, it's not funny. Like that's how I felt about with Office Space the first time I saw it, and even we revisited. I was like, it's better than I saw it the second time, but still not one of the funniest things I've ever seen. So I was worried going into this. Like, I feel like I already know all the jokes, and I'm just not gonna like this as much as I expect. But once again, like you said, it is all about Tina Fey's writing. Tina Fey has time and time again won me over with actors and actresses that I don't like 30 Rock. I had no business liking 30 Rock. I am not I personally cannot. I don't get Tracy Morgan. I don't. I never found Tracy Morgan funny.
I find Tracy Morgan funny in limited doses. You put him in the main role and you're like, okay, limited. That's too much.
Very limited doses. I've never found him funny, but I can deal with him on 30 Rock. Same thing goes with Jane
Lynch.
No, not Jane. Jane Lynch is. I mean, she might have had a small part in 30 Rock.
Sorry.
I'm talking about Jane. She's also the main girl in 30 Rock besides Tina Fey.
Oh, Krakowski.
Yes. Like her, I'm kind of on her, but I could deal with her in that and Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. Alec Baldwin. Never really found the guy funny. He's funny in 30 Rock. Tina Fey can take actors that I don't really care about, such as Amanda Seyfried, which, granted, I don't care about Amanda Seyfried now. I didn't really see her back when she was younger, but Seyfried's got some great dumb lines in this movie. She's hilarious. Lizzie Shaber, never been really crazy. Beautiful. Never really been crazy about her acting. Really enjoyed her performance in this. I've always liked Rachel McAdams. I've liked Rachel McAdams since before this film when she did The Hot Chick with Rob Schneider, which I still, to this day, will defend The Hot Chick as being a great comedy film. I love that movie. And Lindsay Lohan, like I said, she was great in Parent Trap, Freaky Friday. So I already knew what I was getting with Lindsay Lohan. She's solid. She's very solid. She can lead a film, and she can play the sweet, sweet little girl and then, flip it on a script. And Tina Fey's great in everything she's in. She really is. You put Tina Fey in everything, she can pull it off. But it was the rest of the people in the film. And I want to shout out, because you didn't bring her up, but hands down, one of my favorite actresses, and she's in this film, and she's got great lines, is Lizzie Kaplan. I love Lizzie Kaplan so much. And when I didn't know she was in this movie. So when I saw her show up, I'm like, yes. Oh, I immediately am going to like this film now because Lizzie Kaplan's in this. And I was afraid
I want to say this was one of her first movies, I think.
Oh, it had to be, because I didn't recognize her until Cloverfield. Like, I didn't notice her until Cloverfield came out. And then she did Masters
as far as major films people have heard of, she was in Orange County, then Mean Girls, then Cloverfield. Yeah,
I barely remember Orange County, but yeah, I love her. And when she became like the best friend to Lindsay Lohan, I was like, oh, she's gonna actually be in this film. I was so happy. And even what's his name, Daniel Franzese, who plays Damien. Like I was telling you, I was like, the first part of the movie where I actually just straight up laughed out loud is the bathroom scene where the girl's like, this is the girl's bathroom, you can't be in here. He's like, Danny DeVito, I love your work. And started chasing her, and she like screams and runs away. I gut busted laughed. I was like, okay. I was like, if anything, this movie got me good one time really well. But then it kept going, and I really was starting to enjoy it because it's clever. I wasn't necessarily a fan of the Lindsay Lohan's character, like seeing the wild, like all the characters like acting like animals kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, because she had lived in Africa. Yeah,
like there's the one part where they start fighting, like the guy she likes starts like get on his knees and screaming like a monkey. I'm just like, I don't know if
that stuff could have been. I agree with that.
But then you add like Tina Fey's character and the building of what's happening. Like, you've seen this movie before. This is not something new. Like, we knew the trajectory of what was going to happen. Lindsay Lohan was going to end up becoming a mean girl, and then she's going to have to turn things around.
A lot of people made a comparison to Heathers. They call this like the next generation of Heathers, which I understand the comparisons, but I think that one is a much more darker satire, and this is more of a
lighter,
more straight comedy. Yeah.
But I mean, it's like, we've seen this kind of films before. We knew the steps it was going to take. But like I said in my reviews for movies that are very repetitive that we've seen before, we know the journey we're going to go on. But is the journey going to be different and entertaining than what we've seen before? And with Mean Girls, it is. Even when we get to the inevitable endpoint, which is AKA the gym scene, there are some great lines in that movie. You know, with the one girl, like, I just want everyone to have sunshine and rainbows. She doesn't even go here. It's like, that's like, I've heard that line before, and I didn't know it was from this. And I was like, because I always laugh at that part, and I was like, that was good. And then, of course, when Lizzie Kaplan goes up, and she's like, I'm sorry, y'all just don't like how perfect I am, and no one catches her except for Seyfried. Great moment there. Like, there are some great, genuine, funny moments, and like I said, Tim Meadows is great. Like, even like, did they ever explain how he broke his hand in the movie? Because part of me said, did I miss it?
Don't remember.
Because he went from like fine to then all of a sudden in a cast, and I don't remember how he hurt his hand in the film. But I just remember like he raised his hand, like, who's ever been abused by Rachel McAdams' character, and he rose his hand. I was like, when the hell did he get a cast? But yeah, like I said, Mean Girls is.
Apparently, I missed this. Apparently, there's a running joke throughout the film. It's due to characters' carpal tunnel problems. He does
say that.
But it's really because, but they only put that in there because he broke his hand right before shooting. So.
Oh, okay. I do remember him saying, like, the first scene he's in, that he has carpal tunnel, but I didn't connect it with him wearing a cast. But okay. All right, that makes sense then. I mean, it's kind of the same thing they did with Shia LaBeouf in Transformers 2 when he had the car accident. Then all of a sudden he injured his hand while transferring to Egypt. And okay. All right, clever. I never knew that. So, but yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I don't think it's one of the best comedies, the modern day classic, like a lot of people do. But I thought it was a very, very solid comedy that I enjoyed. I think it's got a great cast, great writing by Tina Fey. And it was definitely something that I would definitely go back and, rewatch because there are some great ones. And I think also, even though they don't get enough spotlight in the film, Lindsay Lohan's parents, I thought were great in the movie also.
Yes, yes.
Amy Poehler was hilarious, but that's because I love Amy Poehler. But like the first time she shows up, and then like she's trying to dance with them, and she's wearing like the They're not the Yum Yum Pants. The Yum Yum Pants are another movie that we watched, but like the Spank Me kind of like, pants.
Yeah, the Juicy Couture, yeah.
Juicy, yeah. Like I said, I enjoyed it. So this is definitely a revisited film that I could definitely say positively. I'm glad I got to check this movie out finally. And now when it comes up in trivia, I can actually get some questions right.
Well, let's not jump to conclusions.
Yeah. Oh, don't be like that. Anyway, Mean Girls.
No place.
No, really? It's not on Netflix or anything?
Not for free.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's put it this way: if you guys are fans of Mean Girls, you've seen them probably 1,000 times over. You probably have the DVD or the Blu-ray, or what have you. But if you guys have never seen Mean Girls and are wondering if you should check it out, Brian and I both give it a high recommendation. Check it out. You can rent it on Amazon or just buy it on Amazon or what have you. It's definitely a comedy worth rewatching because there are some jokes and lines that you probably didn't hear the first time that you probably come around the second time, and like most comedies, you're laughing at one point, you're missing the next line. Like I said, Danny DeVito. I love the Danny DeVito joke. That's probably my funniest part of the whole movie. Brian doesn't understand why I loved it so much, but I do. But yes, Mean Girls. Going to our next pick, it is Brian's pick, and when he picked this, I was like, really? I remember this. No. Hold on. I was like, really? I remember this movie. That's like never in a million years that I think we were going to talk about this film on the show, but here we are. Brian's pick is the 1999 comedy horror, I guess would be the right term to use it, Idle Hands, which that title still bugs me because it should be Idle Hand, not Hands. But anyway, Idle Hands came out, which should have been Halloween, but it came out April 30th, 1999, had a budget of $25 million, had a weekend opening of $1.8 million, which was number seven, its opening weekend behind Entrapment in its first week, Matrix in its fifth week, Life in its third week, Never Been Kissed in its fourth week, Analyze This in its ninth week, and 10 Things I Hate About You in its fifth week, and had a finished box office of $4.15 million.
There's no accounting for taste.
That's actually a pretty decent list, though. But most of them are like in multiple weeks on their box office. But yeah, Idle Hands. Yeah, this is a weird movie. This is a very weird film, but it's quick. It's quick. Like you get in and out of this movie super fast. I'm gonna get the main part out of the way. Jessica Alba. Jessica Alba's a goddess. I mean, plus she had 2 top 10 films. Never Been Kissed. She was in that too. She's barely in the film, but she's in it. But yeah, this was, I think, everyone's first introduction really to Jessica Alba. Yeah, she's to me like the perfect woman. But so seeing her in this film, I love Jessica Alba. But yeah, Devon Sawa. I mean, he was supposed to be like the next big thing.
He was one of those actors who he was in everything but never really caught on, and I think they just kind of realized that because he was, obviously Final Destination. Before that, I think he was even Casper. He was Casper's real life.
Well, he was Casper. He was
Wild America.
It was Little Giants. Casper.
I didn't realize he was in
America. What's that?
I didn't realize he was in Little Giants. I haven't seen that in forever.
Oh yeah, he's the pretty boy that Icebox is in.
Okay, I haven't seen it in forever. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
But yeah, he's in that, and then he was Wild America, which was, I think Wild America is actually pretty. I actually really enjoyed that when I was a kid. Probably watch it now, it probably sucks, but I actually really like that movie. And then he had Idle Hands and Final Destination, and then he kind of just disappeared after that. Like he's in stuff. Like I actually looked him up. Like, oh, he's in a lot of things, but it's not anything like huge. Like I think he the Stan music video, Eminem Stan. That was the last big thing.
That's right. He wasn't.
He is the music video. He's Stan in the Eminem music video, and then after that, like it's very hard. Like he popped up on some TV show as like a crazy murderer guy. I was like, is that Devon Sawa? I was like, oh my god, it is. I haven't seen that guy forever. And I think he popped up in one of the last Final Destinations. I don't know if it was like a flashback or what, but he's credited for like the 5th Final Destination.
Well, only because they show. It's not new footage. It's because spoilers for old movies. You find out that the last one leads into the first one, so you show footage from the first one with him boarding the plane and stuff.
Oh, because they kill him off camera. They say like he died going into the second film. Like, oh yeah, it got him too. I was like, man, you didn't even show him kill Devon Sawa. How dare you? But we got Seth Green, which we both love Seth Green, and what's his name? I'm always blanking on his name. Yes, Eldon Hansen from Mighty Ducks and Daredevil and all that stuff, which was funny watching him on. He was on the Mighty Ducks show today. He popped up on the new episode, seeing Fulton Reed back in older Fulton Reed. But yeah, it's Brian. It's your movie, Idle Hands.
So yeah, Idle Hands basically is if you take Army of Darkness, if you take Evil Dead, with the possessed hand that he cuts off and then fights against. If you basically took that scene and made an entire movie of it and set it in like a high school setting, that's all this movie is. It's not highbrow, deep script writing. That's it in a nutshell. And that's the entire logline of the movie. But for me, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. I thought it was well done. I think a lot of that, again, is due to casting. I mean, because Devon Sawa is somebody who, I first saw in, I think, Final Destination. And, well, I don't know if this was before Final Destination, wasn't it?
I mean, it would have been Casper at Little Giants when you first saw him.
Yeah, well, I didn't know who he was at the time.
Yeah, okay.
But anyway, but he's surprisingly funny in this. I mean, he pulls it off real well. It's like the guy fighting his own hand and everything, and Jessica Alba, of course, is Jessica Alba.
Yeah, Jessica Alba.
We don't need to say anything more about that except wow. But then but Seth Green and Eldon Henson, I think, are the MVPs of this movie because those two. Agree. Either one of them individually, I think, is very funny. And Seth Green especially this is a year after Can't Hardly Wait, and then he's got this, and he was, I think, just a couple of years from starting Robot Chicken. And so, I mean, this guy's, obviously he's great at comedy. But then you put the two of them together, and they have such a great chemistry between the two of them. But yeah, I mean, this is the only things I didn't like about this movie. There was a kind of a subplot with Vivica A. Fox as like this person who's hunting down the spirit, basically, and then she hooks up with Jack Noseworthy's one of the I think
he's the neighbor.
The neighbor, the neighbor kid. And the kind of those two characters I kind of felt like were almost kind of in a different movie, or at least a little bit goofier than everybody else. And I didn't hate them. I just thought if I had to pick a weak point of the movie, I think that whole plot with them. But otherwise, I mean, like I said, it's essentially Army of Darkness for the high school set, and I find it very funny. I rewatched it, and I found it just as funny as I did before. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't mind watching it just for Jessica Alba. So.
I mean, obviously, but I mean, I agree. The MVPs are Seth Green and Eldon Hansen. Eldon Hansen. And I think honestly, the real MVP is Eldon. I think Eldon. Because, spoilers, his head gets cut off in the movie. He has to do so much more to sell everything because he's disembodied. So, like Seth Green, I mean, he's got a bottle on his head, but Seth Green's still just Seth Green. But Eldon, having to do everything upside down, and when he tried to eat the burrito and they tape his neck, and then when he's at the dance, he's dancing, he's holding his head like this, he's just got I think without Eldon, the movie will still be okay. But I think his little it's like the little things with him. You have to pay attention to him and watch his facial reactions and certain things he says. And he makes the movie for me. Seth Green's great as well. But the whole third act when he thinks he's gonna get laid. And Seth Green's like, dude, no, ew. No, ew. Ew. What are you doing? Stop it, dude. I'm gonna get laid. No, you're not. Hey, you want some pieces of her? It's great. Like Devon Sawa. I mean, his whole acting is basically him doing this and getting yanked, which physical comedy wise, he does a great job.
He does a great job with physical comedy because not only when it's trying to attack him, when he's trying to chop it off and stuff like that, but even in the scenes, there's the first scene basically where he kind of is over with Jessica Alba, and he at one point the hand makes him smack her ass, and she's like, "Oh, I didn't think you'd have the guts to make that move." And so it's thank you.
And then he's trying he's looking at her, he's trying to choke her, and he eventually has to tie her down.
And he ties up his hand, and she'll like it kinky, huh? And it's just
I
mean, I just thought that he handles the physical comedy, like I said, a lot better than I would have expected from him. And I don't know why he kind of disappeared. I'm not saying he's a great thespian or anything, but I was a little surprised how kind of a short career he had. I mean, as far as big films.
And of course the part where he chucked the cat. Boom. That part was great. I thought that was funny, but that's because if it was a dog, I would not have liked that. But because it's a cat, I'm okay with it. But no, it's just Fred Willard, like super small role in this.
Oh
film.
yeah, it's basically just the prologue.
Yeah, he's basically just in there for like the first like minute, 2 minutes tops.
Yeah.
But no, I mean it's like I think the one part, and this is me probably just getting nitpicky, was the puppet at the end. I was just like, okay, but I mean, because like the puppet changes faces, like that's the part that gets me. Like it was just the puppet, the actual puppet, the whole way. But at this point, it's with this movie, you just gotta kind of let everything go.
Yeah,
just let it go, you know. But yeah, Vivica A. Fox's character, I think her character was starting because I was like, we have to figure out a way to beat the hand, you know. Like there's got to be a reason for everything to be happening because like they have the whole like the movie literally starts with this subplot. And then we go into Devon Sawa's story. So I mean, that is the plot going after the movie. But the problem is that it's not that they abandoned it, but they go so long without bringing her back into it that by the time she comes back in, you're like, yeah, I'm invested in. Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, oh yeah, I was like, well, okay, cool. But can we go back to Devon Sawa, Seth Green, and Henson and Alba because you know they're funny and they're entertaining and like Vivica A. Fox, I mean, she's fine, but it's just. There's not enough for her character to do except for show up and just be there, you know. And Randy's character, I didn't really hate Randy's character. I think he just needed more interactions with the core group because he has like that. He's like one actual real scene with Sawa, and then it's him with Vivica A the whole time. You know, I think if he would have had more interactions fleshed out, but like I said, for a 90-minute film. Like I said, it's basically the one scene in Army of Darkness stretched out over 90 minutes, which sounds bad, but it's not. But I mean, it's
not because I mean, because it's kind of like when you take something from a movie and kind of put a different spin on it. Like I said, this puts kind of this high school spin on it. It also is very much because of the three main characters. It's very much kind of a stoner movie. Totally. So I mean, it kind of appeals to a couple different like levels of people who like different kinds of comedies. I just wanted to notice that the director hasn't really done much else except he did direct Leprechaun 2. And there's one I actually want to check out. Apparently from 2019, he kind of went back to the horror comedy genre. There's a movie he did called Eat Brains Love. I kind of want to see that just based on the title alone.
I don't. I kind of already have a general idea of what I'd be getting with that. And I've already seen that movie. It's called Warm Bodies. But yeah, exactly. That's what when I hear that, I think Warm Bodies, but traveling. But anyway, Idle Hands. I don't believe it's on anything, right?
Nope.
No, but let's put it this way. If you were a teenager in the 90s, especially late 90s, you probably have seen Idle Hands. You're probably like, oh, crap, I forgot about that movie. Well, that's why we're here. We're going, remember that weird-ass film where Jessica Alba's dressed like a sexy angel and there's this hand just doing shit? That's this movie. But yes, Idle Hands.
It's a lot of fun. And if nothing else, I know it's another one of those movies that shows up on cable a lot at Halloween time.
Exactly, which is why it's weird that it came out in April. But it's definitely a Halloween film because it's
Scream came out in December, so
yeah. I mean, this is definitely one of those the definition of turn your brain off and just enjoy what you're watching. Don't overthink it. Don't try to make sense of it. Just have fun with these funny characters, stoner characters, but it's still fun nonetheless. We're going to my pick now. I really had a hard choice this week between these two films. And I think I changed it at the last minute because the other film has a sequel that I'm going to do, I think, 2 months from now. I'm going to do the sequel of it. I was like, well, I don't want to do both films. So I went with this one instead. This is probably – now, granted, yes, we have this is a comic book film, tipping it off to hand to everyone. Granted, with the MCU now, it's hard to say that this is one of my favorite comic book films of all time now. But – before the MCU did their whole thing, this was probably my favorite comic book film besides like Spider-Man 2. I love this film. I love the way they did it. There's one part of the film that I wasn't a big fan of, but I love this movie. And it is the sequel to X-Men, X2, X-Men United. X2 came out May 2nd, 2003, had a budget of $110 million, had a weekend opening of $85.55 million, which was number one its opening weekend, and also spent 2 weeks at the number one spot. Had a finished box office of $407.7 million, $214.9 million domestic, and $192.76 million international. I love the X-Men, but I am also able to admit that is a very, very, very flawed franchise. Here's hoping that, you know, the MCU can do something with it. But my entire childhood up to now, Wolverine has always been my favorite superhero. I'm short. He's short. He's got anger issues. I'm not gonna lie. Shut up, Brian. I have anger issues to a point, but I'm passionate. Damn it! Don't get mad at me for it. But I've always been a huge, huge fan of Wolverine, and seeing him come to life as with Hugh Jackman at the helm, who was a relative nobody at the time when X-Men came out in 2000. I was so excited to see him in X-Men. And while X-Men nowadays is kind of a very bland film, seeing Wolverine live action was a dream of mine. And X2, to me, was the first film that was like, this is Wolverine. When he goes beast mode in the mansion, or rage mode, whatever you want to call it, I think I rewound that scene so many times because it was finally we're seeing Wolverine just go ape shit on people with the claws and everything. I love the story of this film. I love the characters in this film. I think the whole storyline through, like, yes, it's a very Wolverine-centric story. It's probably why I love it so much. The only thing that was missing was Sabretooth. But we didn't get a good Sabretooth till the one movie that I hate most of all, which was X-Men Origins Wolverine. But I digress. I think it's a great film. I think everyone came to play in this, whether it be, you know, Famke Janssen as Jean, Patrick Stewart, whatever. I never say her name right. Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, Larry, James Marsden, Anna Paquin. Heck, Rebecca Romaine Stamos actually had stuff to do in this film. Lines of dialogue in this movie. Brian Cox always is a great villain. Alan Cumming was a great Nightcrawler. That White House opening scene is an iconic scene in comic book history. It's incredibly well done. Kelly Hu as Lady Deathstrike, her fight scene with Wolverine, fucking fantastic. I'll get into the one part I really had an issue with in the film, but I've always been a fan of X2. It is the best X-Men movie of the trilogy. It's not the best X-Men movie. That obviously goes to Logan, which was one of my favorite films of the year, like I think most people. But I've always had a very, very special place for X2. Brian, what are your thoughts on X2?
So growing up, I was big into X-Men comics. Like I didn't read a lot of comics, but I read X-Men like religiously. And the only reason I got out of comics was because when it got to where you had to follow 12 different titles and they're super hollow lenticular art embossed covers that cost $6 a piece, I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Did you watch the animated?
I was getting to that, and so I then watched the animated film, which it was on while I was still reading comics, or the animated series, and that was a great series. I mean, I know a lot of people that's X-Men to them, and to me, while as much as I love the comics, that kind of is X-Men to me too, because the X-Men animated series is excellent. I mean, go back and watch them now on Disney Plus, and it's a little flawed. It's not as great as you remember, but it's a lot of fun. And it's still the best.
I have the whole series literally right out here on DVD. Yeah. I have all the X-Men cartoons.
Yeah. So I mean, X-Men the movie came out. I was glad they made an X-Men movie, but like you said, it's a flawed movie. I was kind of disappointed in a lot of aspects of it, as much as I enjoyed it. X2 kind of delivered on a lot of the promise. It's still not a perfect movie, but I think that it was such a huge leap. And I think at the time I said kind of the same thing. I think at the time I said, I think this is my favorite comic book movie that has come out. Part of that just because it kind of gave us a lot more of the X-Men of what we wanted out of it. Wolverine got to be Wolverine. Although I will say, especially in his first scene in the movie, I saw him and I was like, that is why they don't do exact comic book accurate depictions in movies, because his hair looks ridiculous. It just does not translate to live action movies. I'm glad they've kind of film to film, they toned it down more and more. But that's just nitpicking and making fun of it. Nightcrawler is a character I loved in the comic book and the series, so I was so happy to have him bring him to this. Alan Cummings, I think, was a perfect casting choice for him. His scenes in the movie, like when that jet's crash and he like teleports out and grabs and comes back in, it's like, this is the Nightcrawler. Or even the opening scene of the movie with him, his attack on the White House. I thought his scenes were phenomenal. I was very disappointed when he didn't come back for X-Men Last Stand because I wanted to see more of him. But I thought he did a great job in it. I kind of liked. X-Men has always been a metaphor about, like Professor X is basically the Martin Luther King to Ian McKellen's Malcolm X. And it's talking about, people are different and acceptance and learning to get along and how, the differences between people and the hate that some people feel towards them with racism and things like that. And then in this movie, they added in the additional layer of essentially treating mutants, young mutants especially, almost like coming out, like as if they were, coming out as gay or something like that. When Bobby has to come out to his family as a mutant and how they treat him and how his brother feels towards him, things like that. And so I kind of added.
Can you try not being a mutant? It's like
it is very much kind of adding that additional layer of kind of a metaphor, or commentary to the movie, which a lot of comic book movies are just pure entertainment, and that's fine. I love those movies, but I think X-Men is one that's always been about something more, and I thought in this one they did a great job of kind of expressing that.
And the third one, as bad as it is, having that option of getting rid of
the cure,
the cure, like once again, just it speaks levels. It just was not done. It wasn't executed right, but it was there. But yeah, like I said, Bobby's storyline. Because, you have him as kind of like the boyfriend who is jealous of Logan and stuff like that. But then it becomes more because you have him and you have Pyro. And you know what eventually where this road's going to go down. But they're always trying to one-up each other or Bobby's always trying to clean up Pyro's mess. And then, once they get into the home, you can see that Pyro starts to actually find, he's jealous of Bobby because, like you see, he's looking at the family portrait, which is something that Pyro never had. And then
his family was not nearly as accepting. Yeah.
Exactly. And then you have that one great scene where he's sitting on the X-Jet with Magneto and Mystique, and he's like, "And what's your power?" And he shows it, and he's like, "I can't make the flame show up. I can only manipulate it." And Magneto goes, "You're a god amongst insects. Don't let anyone tell you different." And it's like, man, Ian McKellen's so good. Like, it's such a good deliverer of stuff. But and this is also, to me, was the first film which I think for most people it's the same way, where you finally saw Hugh Jackman is a really good actor. Like, he finally gets to put some real acting into this film, whether it's him going beast mode in the X-Mansion, but it's him pulling back the layers. But to him, like I said, the inevitable end scene where Jean dies. James Marsden putting on one of the most dramatic scenes I've ever seen him in, where like, she's gone. No. And watching Logan, watching his heart crumble, and you're hearing this Hugh Jackman go, she's gone. She's like, it just progressively breaking down. It's just like I had to rewatch that scene twice the other night. Just watching, I was like, damn, I don't think people really understood how great Hugh Jackman was at that moment right there. Everyone's still seeing Wolverine and Cyclops. Yes, it's a sad moment, but the delivery of the lines, he could have gone so over the top with it, and he didn't. He went more subtle, which was just that much more heartbreaking of a performance. And it was a beautiful decision by Hugh Jackman there. Like, you had Marsden going up here with it, and you had Hugh going down here. Once again, because Cyclops and Wolverine always have to be exact opposite of each other. And I thought it was a beautifully crafted scene overall between them. And that was like I said, this movie is like, dude, Hugh Jackman does not get the recognition he deserves for how well he did performing in this movie, or just in the trilogy in general. Because even in the third film, as much of a dud it is, his performances towards Jean, which that's why I also like the Wolverine. A lot of people shit on the Wolverine. His performance in the Wolverine is also really, really well done because he's still mourning Jean in that film. But yeah, that I love that scene. I love that scene so much. And then, of course, to me, the one problem of the film is they spent way too much time with the little girl who's supposed to be the boy in the film, or the Brian Cox's kid when he's like.
Stryker's, yeah, I was not a fan of Stryker's son and how they used him.
Well, that's the thing is like it's a boy, but it's a little girl talking to Xavier.
Well, in Xavier's mind, and basically dream or whatever, he's basically he's appearing as a little girl. Yeah.
It's just like that makes,
because if he just appears as himself, then he's gonna know he's being manipulated.
I know, but still, it's just. But like,
yeah, I was not a big fan of that whole kind of storyline. I mean, I know it's essential to getting, convincing Xavier to kind of send out, and instead, and like how Magneto switches it to, instead of find all the mutants, find the humans, then try to harm them all, and that kind of thing.
But she just was keeping the same lines, like find them all. So
it's important, but yeah, I was not a big fan of the whole Stryker's son storyline, I will admit. And my only other problem with the movie is just, again, a nitpicky. I just want to mention, Rogue, for somebody who like is so afraid to touch people because she'll hurt them, she needs to wear more clothes. She's wearing a lot of like sleeveless things and stuff. Like she's like out on field trips.
I think that's more of a director's choice to make her wear that. But
not this director, just saying.
But yes. But I do love the one scene where once again Magneto and Mystique are like the mean girls in the corner. We love what you do with your hair, and she's like, bitches, I'm gonna fucking touch you. And Bobby's like, stop. Like, a lot of people shit on Anna Paquin's performance, but it's like it's the little things like that where she's just like, no, gloves coming off now. Yeah. Like, get over here, kind of thing. Like I love that scene. I love that scene from her. But yeah, Anna Paquin, I loved Rogue as a comic book character and on the animated series because Rogue was a badass. She's relegated with Anna Paquin in this film for the most part being basically the capturee, the screamer, the save me, save me, save me, which sucks because Anna Paquin's great, but that's just how she's a good actress.
I'm not a Paquin fan anyway,
but I like. But it's one of those things where it's like Rogue is such a empowering character, and that's probably the one thing that. Like, I think Jean gets a good story arc. Storm kind of gets wasted. She gets wasted in all the X-Men movies, really. But Rogue is another really, really powerful mutant that should get more focus, more screen time. And while she does get ample screen time, it's relegated to just like kind of like a Jubilee kind of character. Because she basically effectively is playing Jubilee from the animated cartoon, but it's Rogue. She should have gotten a little more respect, a little more kind of grown up stuff to do in the film. But I think, which Ashmore is this? Is this Sean or Sean? I think he's a great Iceman. I think the stuff they did with him in this as Iceman, I thought was really well done. And like I said, with the family life and him having to deal with, obviously he's a teenage boy. He's got Anna Paquin. he's got wants and needs, but to play that without going like douchebag asshole. To still being the supportive boyfriend and playing that. I think Sean Ashmore did a great job. I just really, really enjoy a lot of the performance of this film. I think the action is leaps and bounds better than the first film. And I think for the most part, everything that they didn't do in the first one that they did in this one, I think it was a full on, like you said, at the time, they couldn't they could have removed that the Stryker's son storyline because that was awful. But I think X2 did everything for the most part better or fixed a lot of the issues that there was in X-Men 1. And that's why it's still one of my favorites. Like as I was rewatching it the other day, it had been a while since I had watched X2 and I was rewatching it the other day. I'm going, God, I love this movie. Especially the first, the half of the film. Like I'm watching it, like they got that one scene with Logan and Bobby in the kitchen. He grabs a warm Dr. Pepper and he's like, whew. Thanks. it's like we're talking about with Ultron. It's the little things. It's the little things like that. But yeah, I love X2. I love most of the X-Men films. There's a lot of them I don't like. But yeah. Any
and the bonus point for seeing we're getting to see the beautiful Rebecca Romijn in her natural form instead of as Blue Mystique.
Yes, we actually get to see her as actual Rebecca Romijn in this film. Yes. And yeah, so we actually got to see her without all the blue on. Because Rebecca Romijn is gorgeous, Absolutely. But yeah, anything else with X2?
No, that one, of course, is on Disney Plus.
Yes, obviously, like all the Marvel films except for I think Blade.
There's a couple that are still in contractual things elsewhere, but yeah. But
you really think the Blade films will be on Disney Plus?
No, but I mean, there's some of the MCU ones that were still because of existing licensing agreements are still on Netflix or something, but they'll be all coming to the MCU.
There's no chance in hell Blade any of the Blade trilogy will end up on Disney Plus, especially in the third one with Ryan Reynolds calling Parker Posey a thunder cunt. That is
no. If anything, they'll show up on like Hulu or something. Yeah.
Yeah, Hulu definitely.
Yeah.
Going to our final film. Now, like I said, this is an ongoing story for us on the Movie Crusaders. We've been begging for our stinker film to rejuvenate us and like be fun to make fun of. And we've been getting bland, just like stinkers and not having any fun. And we're like, please give us something that we could talk about. Well, you got what you asked for. Be careful what you ask for, because not only did we get that in this film, we got it like tenfold, and it beat us over the head to the point that Brian and I, by the end of the film, were going, I don't even know what the hell to say anymore watching. And that is our stinker film, and we decided to pick this film. And I will tell you, for most, like the first week, every time
I kept telling him to pick this film, he's like, "What? I like this."
Well, let me see what the movie is, and then I'll tell you what it is. The stinker film is the 2010 family comedy Furry Vengeance. Furry Vengeance came out April 30th, 2010, had a budget of $35 million, had a weekend opening of $6.6 million, which was number 5 its opening weekend behind A Nightmare on Elm Street remake in its first week, How to Train Your Dragon in its 6th week, Date Night in its 4th week, and The Backup Plan in its 2nd week. Had a finished box office of $36.35 million, $17.6 million domestic, $18.17 million international. So every time Brian brought this movie up, I kept thinking it was Steve Zahn's Strange Wilderness, where he plays, isn't he like a park ranger, or he's not a park ranger.
Also not a very good movie, but but
that's what I thought we were watching. I was like, I might like it. It's Steve Zahn. I love Steve Zahn.
Steve Zahn, Justin Long, Jonah Hill, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I might not hate this. And he's like, no, this is the Brendan Fraser one. I'm like, what movie is this? I don't remember this movie at all coming out. Yeah, this is a movie. As we were watching it, I think we were like 10 minutes in, and I was like, Brian, isn't this basically just a live action version of Over the Hedge? And Brian's like, absolutely. Yeah, pretty much. Don't besmirch Over the Hedge. I'm like, I'm not. I love Over the Edge. Over the Hedge. If you have never seen Over the Hedge, it's a comedy. Steve Carell, Larry Sanders? Sandling? Is it Sanders or Sandling? Larry Sandling? Gary Shandling. I knew that was Larry Sanders. Yeah, hold on. But yeah, and Bruce Willis. Yeah, like it's a great kids cartoon. Like, I love that. This movie, holy crap, this movie. First off, Brendan Fraser. We love Brendan Fraser from, like The Mummy. Like we talked about him earlier this year with Blast from the Past. He has the ability to be an enjoyable person. I can say this much. He's trying. God knows he is trying in this film. It's not good, but he is putting his all in this film. First of all,
he's certainly not looking his best. Let's just say that.
But no, this is when Brendan Fraser is starting to kind of fall off the deep end. But I told Brian I knew this movie was going down the wrong road, literally on the first scene when Rob Riggle shows up. Now, granted, I like Rob Riggle in certain things, but he is so over the top annoying. And when I saw him pop in, I'm like, I already know what character he's going to play. So you add Rob Riggle, and then you add the boss of the film, which is Ken Jeong. And I'm like, I already hate this movie, and I haven't seen a single scene, because I know that these two are both just going to be over the top. And Ken Jeong, incredibly racist joke, instead of letting him just speak.
Yeah, Ken Jeong is like speaking in like this mocking Chinese voice, and it's like,
and literally the subtitles go speaking gibberish, and I'm like, why not just let him speak Japanese, Korean, Chinese, whatever, Spanish, whatever? Why not just let him speak it? And say, and like they're talking back and forth like they understand. It's like, come on, guys, like that's no, don't do that. But effectively, the main plot of this film is you follow Brendan Fraser, who's like, what?
So I've seen Over the Hedge. I already know the plot, but go ahead.
It's Over the Hedge to a point. But you have Brendan Fraser, who's a developer? Is that the term we want to use?
He works for a developer, yeah. A supposedly green company is very important.
A green company, and they're basically cutting down this forest to build a neighborhood. And the animals there, the raccoons, the squirrels, the ferrets, the bears, skunks, hawks, all those animals are basically fighting back against him with... Actually, you know what, Brian? Take it away. Take it away from there.
Yeah, this is a movie. I think it's trying to be a live-action Looney Tunes movie, essentially, which is weird because he, isn't back in action. But Brendan Fraser, first of all, apparently at some point people decided that he was going to be like a Jim Carrey, where he's just going to make funny faces, and that makes for a funny movie. And while like he said, Brendan's trying his ass off. I mean, granted, this is probably a paycheck movie for him. I can't imagine it's something he's like, yes, this is gonna be a great film. But he's trying, but he has nothing to work with. He's definitely game. I mean, he takes place in all kinds of slapstick comedy, things like that.
They really use his weight as a joke, which I am not really.
Constantly.
Like, don't him like that. Come on, guys.
But none of it's funny. But he's trying his hardest. I had problems with the fact that the animals are such a huge part of this movie, and yet they're done so badly. Like anytime, like a lot of times, movies, animals are in there. It looks like special effects from 1990 or something, where the animals absolutely don't look like they're in the same scene as the people. It's like they're either really bad puppets, or it's like clearly CG. It's like you basically see people standing on a green screen and then putting in the animals, so that all looks fake. I don't even know where to go from there.
It's like those bad commercials back in the day where like the car goes by and you see the raccoon go and scream really loud, and the animals are like, they're not talking. Like, well, actually, no, they do talk at one point. They sing a song. It's like, how the fuck did they know the song?
It turned out to be a dream sequence, though.
Yeah, it was a dream sequence. But even without the dream sequence, they're laughing. The animals are laughing.
It's showing speech balloons where they're apparently talking about Braveheart, because apparently these animals have seen Braveheart.
Oh, Braveheart, Normandy, Omaha Beach. Yeah. How the hell do these animals know anything about American history, first off? Now, Braveheart, I told Brian, all they had to do was show Brendan Fraser one night watching Braveheart and the
window or something.
That explains that. But this is a brand new housing development. It's not like these raccoons or anything around have been around TV, but yet they know the Braveheart speech at the end of the movie, and it's just like, oh my God.
Yeah, and this is another movie very much like, was it last week with Obsessed? Where in the first 5 minutes, not the opening credits, but as they introduced every single character, I said to Sean, this is going to be that character's arc. This is going to be that character's arc. This is how this person's going to end up. And sure enough, every character ended exactly where you knew they were going to end up.
Here's the moody teenage son who's mad at his dad because they moved.
He hates nature. He loves technology. Oh, he's going to learn to love nature at the end. Oh, because of this girl that he just met. Oh, the wife doesn't want to be here. Oh, I bet by the end she's going to love nature too. Oh, Brendan Fraser is like this horrible. He works for this horrible company where he's raising down the forest. But I bet by the end he's going to love nature and want to champion it and fight back against his boss. And every single thing we predicted.
Which I love. I love, like, at the beginning of the movie, he's like gonna be like rich, like he's doubling his salary. At the end of the movie, he's a park ranger. It's like, that's a financial turn. Good for you, Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, it doesn't even just go from him wanting to raise the forest to like, okay, I'm not going to do that. It goes, all of a sudden he just loves nature so much that he's becoming a park ranger. I'm like, really?
Well, no, it's like the one thing. It's like all the way up to the point. He's trying to take care of all the animals. He's trying to stop all the animals. He doesn't care. He doesn't care because they're torturing him. They are. He should have died like 10 times in this movie. Like that's why
this is like a Looney Tunes movie, because there's anything they did would have killed him.
He falls off a cliff and fine. And it's like, no, you're dead, or at least broken bones, but he's fine. But then like he finally finds like, oh, the raccoon has a family. Okay, fuck my job. Fuck my boss. Let's throw it all away because this raccoon has 2 babies. And it's like, that's not how life works. I get it's a family film. We get it. But there's a difference between it being a family film and it being well written. And there's being a family film and just being, these people are fucking idiots. They'll eat anything up. It's Brendan Fraser making funny faces and animals screaming and laughing like the Caddyshack gopher. They'll just shut up and eat it and watch it and just don't say anything. It's like, no, this is poorly done. This is incredibly poorly done. The jokes are, Okay. The end. The
Are we
third
talking
act.
about the end?
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the third act. Like I
Okay.
said, the Braveheart Normandy Omaha Beach battle, where all the animals come orchestrated attacks on how to attack this. It's a festival. Sorry about that, guys. Technical difficulties here. The internet's being a little hazy. We dropped out. So if this feels a little out of context for what we were just talking about, it's because my internet dropped out on me. So stuff happens when you're filming. But no, what I was initially talking about was in the third act when all the animals are doing like this Normandy Omaha Beach rush, and none of the animals get hurt. And there's the we were both excited because this one actor was in this film because we both like this actor. Trying to find him here. That's what I was trying to do when we lost the internet connection. Toby Huss, who from Hulk Catch Fire. We love this actor. He plays Wilson, which is like the park ranger. Dude's got freaking automatic AR machine guns in the back of his camper. Just gets overtaken by the animals with ease. No animal gets shot. No animal gets killed. Yet they show like the guns and like crossbows and everything, and none of it gets used.
Oh yeah, there's 100, 200 people at this festival running around. His back of his truck's open with like 30 guns sitting there, and nobody else grabs one.
Well, that's the other thing too. Is that you can also tell that the extras were not good in this because you can tell it's like there's so many scenes in this.
Right back and forth.
You're like, okay, guys, when we say action, run crazy down the street, and like they have like there's like this one like family they have front and center like this overweight mom and dad holding this little girl's hand, and they're both running. And they're all like, ah! It's like they would have gotten trampled. Let's put it this way. But like the camera focuses in on them. It's like, oh, that's such bad directing that you chose to put them front and center because they are like it's just there's so many things like that where it's like clearly the director doesn't care about making the movie look good. Why should we care about the goodness of the film? And then we get to what I think this movie was really made for, which was for the credits. Because this movie has a dance number sequence in the credits. And here just to paint a picture, we were watching this movie because like I said, with the sneakers, Brian and I had to watch them together. And we weren't able to finish it on time because Brian had to go to work. So we both watched the last 30 minutes on our own. And I literally am sending a text to Brian when this thing comes up going, oh my God, you're not going to believe what's happening. He goes, you like the movie? I go, no. I go, dance number sequence to end the film. And he goes, oh my God. And I go, oh wait, you haven't seen it. Next day, I'm at work and I get the text message, what the fuck? And I'm like, what'd I say? Because I hadn't said anything. He goes, dance number sequence. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, plenty of movies. Like, I mean, think about like for instance, there's something about Mary is one jumps to mind.
Something about Mary, it's great.
Where they clearly, like, as the filming went on, during each scene, they had people perform parts of the song. So that at the end, they had this plan for this music sequence at the end, over the credits, which is fine. The same thing in this movie. Which, okay, two things. One, it's like this kindergarten kids bop version of Insane in the Membrane, which first of all is just the worst version of the song, and it's just I don't know why they chose this song or made that version of it because it's just horrible to listen to start with. But then the actual music video they made, yes, it's got people from each of the scenes of the movie singing parts of the song. But Sean, why don't you take the rest of it? Because you really hated this.
I knew we were in a bad situation because first off, it shows like Brooke. Oh yeah, Brooke Shields is in this movie. Everybody, why? Like we hadn't seen her in forever, and she just pops up as the wife. And we're just like,
yeah,
fucking Brooke Shields. But anyway, the movie ends, and we got Brendan Fraser, Brooke Shields, their son, and then the girlfriend, and they're all just standing still, and then they all change into the juicy like sweatpants. They're all wearing. I'm like, oh no.
And of course, Brendan's got his with his gut hanging out because you got to make the last fat joke.
Out because fat people are funny, and then they start dancing to Insane in the Membrane, and then Ken Jeong photoshops up and starts rapping along, and I go, oh no, please no, please tell me I'm not about to watch this. And then they start showing them like at the festival, and they're on stage, and they're doing like a full-on like dance thing, and everyone in the crowd's follow it, and I'm just
Rob
like,
Riggle's in a part of it, and like anybody who had a part in it is doing a line of the song.
But then, randomly out of nowhere, Brooke Shields is dressed in Britney Spears' Hit Me Baby One More Time, walking down a school hallway doing the music video. And I'm like, what the fuck is it? Where was this in the movie?
They went out of their way to create new sequences just for this end credits horrible song, which shouldn't even exist in the first place.
Yeah, it's like,
there was that. They did a Blue Lagoon spoof because Brooke Shields is in it, so it's funny to have Brooke Shields do her same character. They did essentially Encino Man, where this caveman played by Brendan Fraser had shown up earlier in the movie briefly, but of course now Brooke Shields is the female caveman. It's like, okay,
yeah, it's like, but she was never dressed up as a cavewoman in the movie, so it's like, so they basically made her dress up.
Now, but there was like 3 or 4 segments that they made. They actually took production money to film parts of this music video, and I can't tell you how awful. I said in my review on Letterboxd, I was willing to give this movie 1 full star just because some of the slapstick comedy, I do kind of got to consider that it's made for kids as its audience, that kind of thing. Like, I'll give it 1 star. But that music video hit, I'm like, oh, you lost all your goodwill.
Oh yeah, no. If I could have given this 0 stars, I would. But it's like it's almost like, hey, Brooke, what's a music video you've always ever wanted to do? She's like, I've always ever wanted to be Britney Spears and Hit Me One More Time. Cool. Let's get her in dress up. Let's dress her up. She does not look good in it. Like, it looks bad. And I'm just like, why? Never in this movie is Britney Spears ever brought up. Never is Hit Me Baby One More Time ever played in the film. Never is there any context in this film for her to ever do this. But for fuck's sake, they did it in the credits.
Which, by the way, this movie is 11 years after Hit Me Baby One More Time, so it's not even a timely joke.
No, it's not. It makes no sense. This movie is lazy. It is poorly done and every fathomable. The animals are mind-numbingly over the top and not in a good way. Yes, it's the sneaker film, so we're finding things to be wrong with it. But I think even if like we weren't trying, it would be like, oh my god, this is awful. Like, this is so awful. Like, I'm so glad Brendan Fraser finally got on Doom Patrol so I can respect him as an actor again. Because if this was the last thing I saw him in, oh my god. Like, dude, you were fucking Rick O'Connell from The Mummy. What the hell happened to you, sir? Like, jeez. But yeah, anything else that you want to say about Furry Vengeance?
No, I don't have anything. Don't watch it. We're saying don't watch it, so of course it's the one that's most widely available. So if you want to torture yourself, it's on all the ad-based free, like Tubi TV, Roku channel, Pluto TV. It's even a free on Vudu with ads, Hoopla, but don't.
Just don't. We love you guys. Don't do it, please. It's like It Follows. Just don't. Anyway, that's our episode today, guys. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you guys did, go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos that pop up on the Movie Crusaders. And of course, don't forget to follow us on all social media. I'll see below. Coming up next, I think it's our next episode. I don't really think there's any real big movies worth reviewing.
No, it's a couple weeks. Actually, almost a full month off before anything been coming out.
There's nothing in May? There's got to be something in May. Spiral.
Unless you want Spiral.
Yeah. If any decent movie comes along, I'll review it. I know Without Remorse came out.
Yeah, there'll be some streaming stuff. Army of the Dead will be out like May 14th, I think.
Yeah, Army of the Dead. I'll probably definitely do a review of Army of the Dead. And Without Remorse, I maybe will do it. I haven't decided yet. But yes,
I've heard only great things about Mitchell's vs. the Machine, so I'm watching that later this weekend.
I have no interest in seeing that. But anyway, next week's episode, I actually think this is going to be a fun episode. We've got two. We got a sci-fi, modern day sci-fi classic that I personally love. That Brian's like, it's fine. I thought did you just say before we talked? You're like, I'm not a big fan of it, or was that the other movie?
I think you're thinking of the other movie.
Okay. Anyway, we got a modern day sci-fi classic that we both love. Oh, yeah, because it's our feature. Of course, we both love it. And then we got I think this is the Revisited, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Revisited. I love it. Brian's okay on it. And then we've got a stinker that I've never wanted to cause bodily harm to a child more than this film. Even when I watched this film, when it came out, I go, I just want to punch this kid in the face so hard because he's.
Then you
so
need to watch Psycho
young.
Gorman because the girl in that movie needs to be killed from
Oh,
minute one.
I saw the trailer and I was already like, I can't watch.
The girl in that film needs to die. Anyway.
Yeah, no, like but this is another movie. The Sneaker is another one where the kid actor is like, I want to do physical harm to this child. But granted, he's at least 12. He's a teenager in the film. Like, he's a kid in the movie. He's a teenager when he filmed this. So, let's not go that I'm a horrible human being, but this kid needs an ass kicking. Anyway, we got a revisited film. No, this is your pick. A pleasant film, pleasant comedy. I remember it fondly. I'm actually excited to go back and rewatch it. And then we've got a action film that Brian doesn't think very fondly of, and I have not seen it since it came out. I remember being fine with it when it came out. So we'll see if I still think that it's fine or if I like it more or less. Anyway, those are our clues. Good luck figuring those out. What movie has a child that Sean physically wants to do harm to? There's actually more than one movie. This is just the one we're talking about. Find that one came out next week.
This video is already Exhibit A when you get arrested for something.
It's
like to hurt children.
It's like that Dane Cook stand-up where he's like, you ever hear a sound that just makes you want to punch a baby? This movie is that. Anyway, that's our episode. I'm Sean Wasserkrug. That's Brian Michaels. We guys hope you enjoyed this episode of the Weekend Crusaders. And until next time, in case we don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Movie Crusaders.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.